Tapu, assalamu alaikum, namaste, Heru Nefer. This is Gasakma Keperu with another video for you. And today I want to talk about the ancestors and starseeds. I want to get to the truth and the heart of this matter because there's a lot of disinformation that's being put out. But before I get into that, I want you to hit the like button on this video. If this is your first time to my channel, welcome. And also share this video with family and friends so we can get this revolution started. Also consider becoming a Patreon supporter. You can do so for as little as $1 or $5 per month, and you'll get really nice instructional videos on divination, performing a ritual, and all that good stuff. So let's get into the topic at hand, which is kind of like understanding the difference between ancestors and starseeds and things of that nature. Now, in the New Age community, I want you to understand that there's a lot of talk about starseeds. And when you do some research on this, it's just a lot of fluff and disinformation. And it's unfortunate because a lot of times that when you are trying to do research into a legitimate area, you'll see it's convoluted by this misinformation. And a lot of it is based upon racism. Some of it is based upon, you have special interest groups out there, I'm not going to name them, that don't want the truth to get out there. So what they do is they bombard these channels and these documents out there with just conflicting information. So you never really get to the truth and the heart of the matter. And what we're seeing now is with the New Age community, it's become a little bit laughable, and you can see where some things are just not correct. And if I can give you an example of that, when we start talking about, for example, the UFO community, you'll see that now they're talking about they are the pale Nordic type aliens with blonde hair, blue eyes, and that is just not so, and this is alluding back to what I said before of racism. You have these so-called aliens that they want to believe exist, that are just the Nazi version of the Aryan race, or the perfect race, coming with these blonde hair and blue eyes. And these are supposed to be hybrids. So again, this is part of disinformation that's being put out there, and what's really something that could be a legitimate area of study has now been contaminated with this nonsense. So let's talk a little bit about the ancestors and the starseeds, okay? And the most important thing that you need to understand in this is that what exists is only the now moment. There is no past, there is no future. These are just concepts that we created in the fourth dimensional plane, which is linear space-time. But outside of linear space-time, this fourth dimensional plane, things like, for example, past, present, future do not exist. Also, right and wrong do not exist. Again, those are attributes of this fourth dimensional experience. So keep that in mind. So a lot of people have been writing to me and asking me, well, I'm adopted. How do I know who my ancestor is? Or I don't know much about my family line. So how do I pour libations to my ancestors or even communicate with them? So what you need to know is that your ancestors do come directly out of your family line, but there are ancestors that you may not be aware of, such as if you're not close to your family, if you don't have a family history or lineage, your ancestors still can gravitate towards you because they are part of your lineage and you not be aware of that fact. So what I prescribe a lot to people is that, listen, you need to do an ancestral shrine and pour libations and do offerings to your ancestors and allow them to come through, even though you may not be aware of, your family lineage, or, and it's also very important that you should be aware of your family lineage. But if you don't, because you're adopted or your family just didn't keep those records, that's okay, because your ancestors will find you, as long as you're opening that gateway, that door, to allow them to come in and communicate with you, they will. But to keep in mind that you have to take that first step. Now, I remember my friend, he's a veteran, and everywhere we would go, they would tell him, thank you for your service. And I thought that was really interesting, because I don't think that we've ever said to our ancestors, thank you for your service, because many of our ancestors here in North America have gone through slavery, and it was horrific. It was terrible, but it was due to their sacrifice and their pain that they endured that's allowing us to be here today. And we need to say to them, thank you for your service. And the way we can do that is by remembering them and not forgetting them, because they are still with us in spirit. Because, as I said before, people are wondering, well, have they incarnated into new bodies? And yes, they would have, but you have to understand you're also dealing with nonlinear time and space. So you can communicate with them, and they are in the inner planes. For example, if your mother or father say passed away, hopefully they're still living with you and healthy, but if they did, and that was years ago, and typically they would transition to a new body or incarnate. But the thing that we have to understand is that a lot of the information that was put down about reincarnation, about the afterlife and everything like that, was constructed by individuals who were very left brain, and therefore looked at everything from the funnel of linear space-time. So what you're subjected to in this fourth dimensional experience, spirits and ancestors in the inner planes are not subjected to that very same thing. You have to understand that. So what you think may have happened in terms of them transitioning over to a new body or being reborn may not as actually happened as the way you think it has, because you're dealing with the now moment, which is a moment of infinity. It is there, it exists. So you're not looking at a past or future where they may have reincarnated. You're not looking at that. You're only dealing with this present now moment as if it's a slide in a film strip. So therefore, when you take that into consideration and you think about that, then you understand that they are already existing in the inner planes. And at any time in your lifetime, you can make contact with them without worry that they may have moved on. They're always with you. So keep that in mind. In the same vein, when I talk to individuals and I'm telling them about astral projection, right? And they're saying, well, I went to sleep, I astral projected, and I went to, let's say, Alpha Centauri, right? Or I went to another dimension where I met these elf beings. Now, one thing I must remind individuals, that when you start to get into the realms of the subconscious mind, that it is void of time and space. So when you're saying I went to, no, there's nowhere to go, because you're not traveling to any one place, because there's no space in between you and that thing over there. There's merely a quick transition to where you want to be. And now we're getting into the realm of 5D, fifth dimension, because the minute you think of something, it basically appears. There's no time and space or a lag in between that. So keep that in mind, that when you hear individuals talk about, I traveled here or I went here, no, you're in a realm. As Nikola Tesla says, we don't live on a planet, we're in a realm, one of many realms. You're not traveling, because there is no space in between. Again, one of the principles of consciousness is that of non-locality. So you don't exist in any one location or any one fixed point in space and time. You are everywhere. You exist everywhere. You're a multidimensional being. So you don't go anywhere. You are ever present. You understand? It is merely a shifting of consciousness that brings you to an awareness of where you are. So as you sit here, you exist in an infinite number of dimensions. And the reason why you're not aware of that is because you are focused here, you're in this dimension, for the purpose of experiencing this time-space continuum lesson. But at any one time, you can shift consciousness to focus on a different experience in the infinite number of dimensions and experiences. This is where we get into time travel, whereas you don't need a time machine to travel to the so-called future, because you're already there. You're simply shifting consciousness to that future self where you already exist, to become aware of what is going on in that future world. Okay? So clearly understand that. That you're not going anywhere. You're already there. And I love the film, the 2010 A Space Odyssey, Arthur C. Clarke's film, where David Bowman is communicating. He has passed on. The monolith has transformed him into a spiritual being, and he has passed on. So he's communicating with his wife, and his wife says, "Don't go," because he came to her in a spirit form, and he says, "Well, I'm already there." And that's just a very revealing moment to tell you how consciousness and who you truly are is really about. It is about being at every place. This is where we get into the realm of quantum entanglement, because everything is connected to everything. We have the Ma'at principles, the interconnectedness and interdependence between all things. And when I get into this whole idea of accelerated learning and super learning, one of the things I get frustrated with is how we compartmentalize things, how we look at something and we examine it under a microscope as a self-contained entity without a relational comparison to things. This is why the tree of life and cosmology is so important, because it teaches you that everything is interdependent upon one another. All right. The idea of evolution is flawed, because it talks about something evolving or transformation or transforming on its own. Things don't work like that. We know that everything in nature, and we can attribute nature to the goddess, the Egyptian goddess Mut meaning mother. Everything is dependent upon another. So what we say is evolution is an incorrect nomenclature. It is really adaptation, which is coming out of the great I-Ching oracle written by Confucius, partly by Confucius, because when you start to understand that when the ecosystem changes, then you change to adapt to that for survival purposes, and that is the wisdom of Neb-Het, God, Neter, because God created an energetic realm, an energetic universe, and it is conscious, it is aware, and it is responding. So therefore, the impetus for life came from the energetic universe. The energetic universe says, I am consciousness. I need a physical vehicle to experience the fourth dimensional plane. Therefore, I will create humanity. And this is where the god Nun, or Nu, comes into being, and the primordial waters of creation. This is where God Ptah created himself. And he's known as the great creator. So understand that this evolution process negates the ecology, which is informing the physical being of how to change and how to adapt. This is where you get the idea of the two races, the African and the European, developing according to their climate. And if we understand cosmology, then we understand the principle that not one is better than the other, but it's merely an adaptation for survival purposes, and which is why you have diversity. If you don't have the diversity and all of us were the same, a disease can come and wipe us out so quickly. But Neter, in his wisdom, his Tehuti faculty wisdom, said, let me create many races, so that if a disease comes along, it may wipe out one race, but the others will survive, because it's looking at the totality of things, you know? So let us consider that. Now, going back to what I was saying before, is that, well, let me just say hi to the Magi's. Aset Hetepu, GK Sigma Hetepu, D, Runefa, how are you? All right. So give me 1 second here. Let me just try and just fix this. Okay. So when we talk about our ancestors, right? Then we have to give thanks for the struggle and everything that they went through, because even going as far back as the very early stages of man and woman, there was death. You died at an early age, but these were sacrifices to bring us to where we are now. So you should definitely recognize your ancestor, or ancestors, and give thanks and praise, libation, and say thank you for your service on that slave ship. Thank you for enduring that horrific travel in the North American slave trade to bring life to me as I am here now. And I will honor your memory by continuing this fight. So keep that in mind, thanking them for their service. Now, going back to what I was saying about the Starseeds. Now, the idea here is that you come to this existence with a destiny, all right? That you are to fulfill that destiny, because Neter places his consciousness within the vehicle, the avatar, the physical body, so that you can have an experience. And in going through that experience, Neter gains a better understanding of itself, because Neter, when Neter came into existence, it was alone. It was just one, and then it looked back upon itself, and in doing that, it split from the one to the two, and it became aware of itself as a separate entity, and then from the two became the three, and that's the Holy Trinity. Now, so Neter needs you to experience this fourth dimensional plane and to learn from this, and that information is taken and gathered by the oversoul. And your oversoul is experiencing many infinite lives at the same time. So you're not going linear, dying, being reborn, dying, being born. No, it doesn't work that way. It is all happening now in this forever now moment. Do you understand? So right now, if you have what we would say a deja vu, or you're recalling thoughts and ideas, and you don't know where they're coming from, you are accessing other past lives that you've experienced. You are downloading that information. Because our ancestors who are on those slave ships, or who may be in the Holocaust, that is transpiring right now, because there is no past. So all there is a now moment. So all of that is happening now, which is how you're able to access those memories. You're accessing them in real time. So stop thinking that, oh, in my past life. No, in your current lives that you are experiencing. Lives. You can access any one of those lives that are transpiring now, which is why I say that when you want to start a school, to teach the children, you have to understand that textbooks, yes, they're great. That's a Sebek type of thing. Sebek loves facts and reading, and he's a great orator. But when you go into self, okay, and meditate, you can transfer consciousness to re-experience those things happening now. You can go to the point of being in the Holocaust. You can go to the point of being on a slave ship, and that is happening now. And you can experience those things firsthand. And of course, it's traumatizing, so you don't want to do that. But with the ability of trance, you can do that. And that is the best way to understand what has happened to us in the past. If you were born in Kemet and you had trials and tribulations in Kemet, Egypt, you can go back there and experience it now, because it would take a hypnotherapist or hypnotist to put you deep into trance to be able to do that. All right. But now, with all of this said, and these past lives, so-called past lives, there are some of us who don't have these past lives. We may have one or two. And that is because there are some of us who are put here or agree to come to Earth for a particular mission, and they are called Starseeds. These are individuals who come from other planets, soul entities, who reincarnate on the Earth for a particular mission. And that is because the Earth needs help in its transition to 5D. And in order to do that, we need to be guided by higher consciousness beings And these beings come from everywhere, different galaxies, different planets. They reincarnate here, and they're called starseeds or star children. And there's many different types because they each have a mission. You know, you may have your indigo. Your indigos come here with the idea they're warriors. They want to shake things up. They want to reveal the truth. They want to take what is hidden and bring it to the light. And then you'll have like your crystal children will come, and they are the ones that are going to be the ones that are going to help in laying the foundation that is laid by the indigos. The indigos are the trailblazers. They're gonna rattle things and say this is not correct. And then the crystals are going to come along and then show you through example spirituality. This is the way we need to be. All right. So, because each one, of course, has a mission. Now, your crystals, one of the great things about the crystals is that they are connected to source energy. They're connected to source. So they have a much better understanding of the integration of all things. Now, your indigo children or the indigos have a knack or innate talent for connecting the left and the right brain so they can see holistically. And the crystal children will come along, and because they're connected to source energy, they can bring down wisdom and knowledge. And next will come the rainbow children, and the rainbow children will put in place a type of new world, a better world, a spiritual world. All right, and these individuals, whether it be indigo, crystal, or rainbow, may not have had as many past lives on Earth. Now, it is said that your rainbow children have never been to Earth. This is their first time coming to Earth. Whereas your indigo and your crystals already have had experiences not only on their home planet, but here on Earth. They have gone through some lifetimes. Now, I got into a debate with a spiritualist, and she was trying to say that everybody on this planet is a starseed. And I said, no, they're not a starseed. In fact, saying that kind of like deludes the message and the understanding of what the starseeds are supposed to do and are supposed to accomplish. And of course, Carl Sagan says, you know, that we are made of space dust, that we're made of the same things from the universe, which is true. But on a metaphysical level, consciousness, your soul, who you are, is either from this planet or you're a starseed to come here to rattle things, change things, transform things, and help the earth progress. Now, with that in mind, understand that there are specific challenges that if you are a starseed that you're going to go through, specifically if you're an indigo, because indigos are going to have to do battle with the current system in place. And indigos are going to have to balance their so-called alien origin with also their memories of being here. Now, the only ones that don't have karma to balance is your rainbows, because this is their first time coming to Earth, so they don't have a tie to the Earth, and there's no karma to balance. Whereas crystals and indigos, they have been the Earth, and because they have prior lives here, they have a karma, we can say debt, that they must pay off. And in this lifetime, they may go through certain things that may seem unfair, but they're just paying off that karma. Now, let me be specific so you understand where I'm coming from. If you are a starseed, you signed up for this mission. You were on your home world, and someone said, listen, Earth needs help. Who's going to go? And you raised your hand. And now you're here. And life is kicking your butt. Now, when I realized that I was a starseed, I got upset, and I was saying, why did I raise my hand? What was I thinking? Can I go home? Can I go back? Because this planet is crazy, man. These people are psycho. And it's true, these people are psycho, because if you're a starseed, innately within you, in the deep recesses of the subconscious mind, you hold the knowledge of your planet of origin, which is of a higher vibrational frequency, which is why you were sent here, to raise the vibrational frequency of the planet. So you know truth, you know right and wrong, and you know that what you're seeing around you is madness. You're like, why are these people acting the way what is going on? What's wrong with these people? And if you are saying those things to yourself, you may be a starseed. And you may be saying, stop the merry-go-round. I want to get off. This place is insane. And rest assured, you're going to be attacked. You're going to be vilified because you're bringing such a radical, different perspective on things that this planet is not going to go along willingly. They're going to fight you tooth and nail. They're going to make you seem crazy. Look at all the innovators in history. I mean, there was a time when if you said the earth was round, they would burn you at the stake. Look at the witch trials. Look at Nostradamus. He had to write his quatrains in secrecy and in parables because if they found out that he was a diviner, or he had psychic abilities, he would be hung or beheaded. So understand that the knowledge that you have of right and wrong and truth and justice, and some of us come from the Atlantean, from Atlantis that have very advanced technology. Some of us come from that, which is why we get into technical fields. And we're the ones that are bringing to light new information, new knowledge. But unfortunately, the way this planet is, and I'm going to be real with you, my beloved. I'm going to be real with you. You could be a starseed from a very advanced civilization. Or you could have come from Atlantis or Kemet. But if you have chosen to be reincarnated as a so-called minority, this planet will do everything it can to destroy you, to stifle your knowledge, to keep you away from mainstream. Because the planet wants to trap everyone in 3D, materialism and egotism. Because they, the ruling elite, have already traveled to the future. Their consciousnesses have already gone to the future. And they have explored the many different scenarios. And now they have tapped into a scenario where they are rulers, absolute rulers, and have subjugated the planet. And now their consciousness comes back to this existence, this now moment, and they're trying to implement things to get us to that future of where they rule. And they're being opposed by your starseeds. So naturally, they want to attack and get rid of you. And they put in place all kinds of metaphysical things to get you, which is the pendulums or the ergobores, or pumping out their certain radio frequencies to keep you trapped in self-ego, which is why everybody is caught up in music and dance and entertainment, because the more they can keep you trapped in there, the more they can put in place their insidious plan, and you're distracted. Which is why, going to what I was saying earlier about trying to understand these things and how convoluted it has become on the internet, is because they purposely put out disinformation to keep you from understanding the truth. They don't want you to trace your star origin, because they're bent on trying to convince you there's no life in outer space. And they make it laughable to talk about it. They don't want to let you know that you can call upon your ancestors to help you. Because the mainstream Western religions look down upon meditation and trance and communication with your ancestors, or respecting your elders. And I'm not going to even talk about reality manifestation. They don't want you to know that you can tune into an alternate reality and have that manifest for you. Why would they want you to understand that knowledge? Because if the planet came into a realization of that knowledge, those on this planet can shift to a vibrational frequency where the ruling elite does not exist. And that's exactly the ruling elite's plan, is to shift all of the population, most of the population of what they can, who are operating on 3D, to that alternate reality where they are in power, where they are in control. 3D is their goal. You have friends or family members walking around saying, well, the only thing that really exists is the material world. It's all about the material. This metaphysical new age mumbo jumbo that you're into doesn't work. They're already trapped. And when the transition happens, they will transition to the Illuminati or the ruling elite world. But you hang on to your spirituality. You hang on to your star origin. And you remember the ancestors and the sacrifices they made to have you here today. Because in the end, that's what's going to save you. Not a savior. What's going to save you is the recognition of your own God-man, God-woman power to get you out of things in life. Now, I want each of you, I'm going to do future videos on getting deeper into starseeds, because we're going to talk about the different planets that you could be coming from, and the different types of character traits that you each starseed embodies, so you can better understand your children. Because unfortunately, many of us have mistreated our children, not recognizing that they have come with gifts and they have come with a mission. They are elders. And yet you as a parent must help them fulfill their mission. But instead, when they do something that is so unconventional, so strange, you want to spank them. You want to tell them not to do that, to conform to the system. No, sit down and have a discussion with them. Understand that these individuals have special powers and they need to exercise those powers. And you have to help them to bring those powers to fruition. By not stifling them, allow them, give them the freedom to express themselves in a proper way and in a proper environment. Those teachers in the modern school system don't know how to handle this. They'll put them in a special education class for slow learners. They're not slow learners. They're very advanced learners. They're just not going to go along with this crippled system of education, which is based on left brain thinking coming out of the Greek culture. The Greeks thought that everything had to be done through a verbal discourse, that everything had to be done using the left brain to philosophize about life and to come to a conclusion of what life is. Their idea of understanding truth would be, oh, let's take an hypothesis and then an antithesis, and then in between we have a synthesis, and that will be the truth. That's wrong. That's incorrect. That's not how you get to truth. Which is why their society, if you go research the Greek civilization, was paralyzed by discourse after discourse. They were not able to reach decisions because they were caught in the paralysis of analysis, arguing all over political issues and not being able to arrive at a conclusion. And we see this in the same vein, in the same way with our modern day society, which elevates the left brain over the right brain, which is basically saying that, because that comes out of the ancient cults, because there was a sun cult and there was a moon cult. The moon cult was the right brain, the sun cult was the left brain, and the world at previous one time was following the moon cult. which was the right brain, the female principle. And then along comes the Roman Emperor Constantine in 325 AD, who wanted to create a religion to control the population, said, we're going to now remove the moon cult and put in place the sun cult, which is the male aspect, the left brain, and have everybody worship that. And now we've been subjugated under that rule for so long. And those of us who are star seeds now realize that we have to bring back the ancient ways, which were the true ways of understanding truth. There are many people who don't understand the trappings of the Hegelian dialectic. We see two choices and think the two choices are freedom. And the ruling elite present it to us all the time. Here's the parties. Decide which one you want. We live in a democratic society. Yes. Well, really, you don't want a democracy. You want a republic. But they don't want to entertain that. A republic is ruled by the people and for the people. And two choices, bad and worse, or no choice at all. Don't get bamboozled by that. And it happens every 4 years, over and over again. And nothing changes because those in control have both sides in their pocket. Het-Heru glass. Het-Heru K. So K, homeschool has to be done in the right way. And I would advise that you do research into trance meditation, accelerated learning, super learning, so your child won't be indoctrinated into left brain learning. Again, you have to understand that the whole idea of the teacher being in the front of the class, the students sitting down, and the teachers disseminating information is not the proper way that information should be taught or things should be taught. One of the things I do is if I want to learn something, I put myself into trance first. Then the information is given to me while in trance, and it takes it from the short-term memory to long-term memory. And also what that does is it activates whole brain thinking to where you don't see things as compartmentalized, but you start to make connections between things, and you're seeing how things are related. Just as the ancient Kemetic people, they did not have separate disciplines or separate subject matters. It all was connected. And that was hard for the Western archaeologists to accept that. When they saw that, it puzzled them. Now, we're talking about a Gestalt way of thinking, or a unified principle, a unified theory, that all things are connected. And this is how the great scientists of our age thought. Now, Thomas Edison, he was a thief. When I mean great scientists, I'm talking about Nikola Tesla. Because through trance state, he was able to build things visually in his mind and test them out in his mind and see if they worked. And then based on doing that, he could build something without errors. This is why he was so brilliant, and he wanted to create free energy, and they shut him down. J. Paul Getty shut him down. And he died penniless in a New York hotel. So, if you're going to do homeschooling, I advise that you really look into accelerated learning techniques, binaural beats, and supplements that can increase brain power. Those would be, because you want to produce geniuses. You don't want to, and you want to awaken their natural talents. And the way to do that is not by the conventional mode of operation, which most the higher institutions of learning operate by, which is rote memory or regurgitation of information. Because if you can recite and remember the information that you're taught, to them that means that you're proficient and you have a PhD or whatever in it. But that's not correct, because the great men of our time and women of our time, when we look at Imhotep, Nikola Tesla, and many, many more, they were all operating out the right brain. And let us not forget in Europe, the witches and the witch hunts, because these women will bring advanced knowledge through the right brain, which is why they were hunted down and burned at the stake, because the ruling elite did not want that knowledge out. And the knowledge was coming directly from Africa and the Shah men and the Shah women in Africa. And these women in Europe were merely picking up upon that and were trying to help society with their spells and their herbal medications and things of that nature. So I want to thank all the Magi's for coming in to the chat room. And remember, we are still taking registration for my reality manifestation program. So if you want to get deeper into this information and learn how to create the reality of your dreams, sign up for that course. The link is in the description box. And this is Kasak Ma Keparu, son of Tuti and Ma'at. Till my next video, Amen Ra.